Your stomach growls. It has been 8 hours since you last ate. You are sitting in a chair, in a warm room, within walking distance of a refrigerator, stocked with more calories than your body needs in a week. And you are miserable. Now forget the chair. Forget the room. Forget the refrigerator. You are standing on the edge of the Pleistocene. Grass stretches to the horizon in every direction, burnt gold and whispering. The sun is going down for the 3rd consecutive day since your group ate anything of substance. The children are quiet in a way that children should never be quiet. The last kill, a juvenile wildebeest split between 11 people, is a memory now. Bones. Cracked open, sucked dry, discarded 2 days ago. 8 hours of hunger feels like a problem. This feels like arithmetic. The kind where the answer keeps coming up 0. This is what food meant for 99% of human history. Not a schedule. Not a craving. A clock. A brutal biological clock that your body has been running since long before it was your body. But here is what nobody tells you. Your body, the one sitting in that warm room, complaining after 8 hours, was never designed for abundance. It was built over 300,000 years of relentless pressure for something far darker. The feast-or-famine cycle. Weeks of near starvation, broken open by rare, overwhelming abundance. Eat everything. Store everything. Because the famine always comes back. And the famine always came back. Here is what makes this strange. Your brain does not simply slow down when food disappears. It changes. Measurably. Permanently. After just 16 hours without calories, something shifts in the architecture of your mind. Something ancient and automatic. Something that has nothing to do with willpower and everything to do with survival. We will come back to that. Stay with me. Your body has been running the same software for 300,000 years. And the first thing that software does when food disappears is lie to you. Around the 16-hour mark, your liver exhausts its glycogen, the easy fuel. The quick-burn glucose your brain has been coasting on since your last meal. And here is where something extraordinary happens. Instead of shutting down, your metabolism pivots. Fat reserves begin breaking down into ketone bodies. Your brain, that 3-pound organ burning 20% of your total energy, switches fuel sources mid-flight, like a plane converting its engine while still in the air. Evolutionary biologists call this metabolic flexibility. And it was not a weakness in the ancient human body. It was the weapon. A Homo sapiens running on ketones after 20 hours without food was not a diminished Homo sapiens. Focus sharpens. Pattern recognition accelerates. The noise of a full stomach quiets and something older and colder rises. The predator brain. The one that reads grass movement and wind direction and the sudden silence of birds. Evolution did not build you to eat 3 meals a day. It built you to hunt better when you were starving. But evolution is cruel. You were not the only hungry thing on that grassland. Not even close. Picture the Olduvai Gorge, Tanzania, 1.8 million years ago. Researchers found animal bones scraped clean with stone tools. Not just the meat, the marrow. Our ancestors cracked femurs and tibias open with rocks to extract the fat-dense tissue inside. The last caloric resource on a stripped carcass. This was not cooking. This was mathematics. Calorie extraction pushed to its absolute limit because somewhere in the acacia trees, spotted hyenas, crocuta, were watching. Waiting for the moment the tools went down. The hyenas were not the apex problem. Homo heidelbergensis was. A sister species. Bigger. Heavier. Occupying the same rivers, the same migration corridors, the same prey animals across Europe and Africa for hundreds of thousands of years. When the herds thinned and the rains failed, two species of human looked at the same starving landscape and made the same calculation. There was not enough. There was never enough. This is where the fossil record gets weird. Atapuerca, Spain. A cave system containing the bones of Homo antecessor, among the earliest human remains found in Europe. The bones are approximately 800,000 years old, and they are cut. Clean, deliberate marks from stone tools, identical to the marks left on butchered deer and horse at the same site. The same extraction technique. The same systematic defleshing. Cannibalism. Not ritual. Not ceremony. Starvation arithmetic, written in bone. This was not savagery. This was not madness. This was a species doing exactly what 300,000 years of brutal selection had shaped it to do. When the landscape gives you nothing, you take the calories that remain. The ancient human brain, running cold and clear, did not flinch at the calculation. But not every group made that choice. Some of them planned instead. Dolní Věstonice, Czech Republic. 26,000 years ago, deep in the last glacial maximum, temperatures across Europe had dropped nearly 10 degrees. The megafauna were retreating. Excavators found a cache of mammoth bones buried deliberately in the permafrost. Not scattered, not abandoned, stored. A freezer built from the frozen earth itself, holding hundreds of kilograms of fat and protein against the season when nothing would move across the ice. This was the moment that separated Homo sapiens from everything else alive on the Pleistocene. Not strength, not size. The Pleistocene Megafauna Collapse, the extinction of mammoths, woolly rhinoceroses, and cave bears that had anchored the human food chain for millennia, should have ended us. Every other predator it displaced either adapted slowly or disappeared entirely. Homo sapiens did something different. They remembered. They planned. They buried today's kill against tomorrow's famine. This was not about hunger. This was not about weakness. This was about a species learning to outthink starvation itself. Now we come back to the 16 hours. You are not starving. You are sitting in your chair, your warm room, a few hours past your last meal. And something in your brain is firing that has no business firing in a world of refrigerators and delivery apps. A low, persistent agitation. A difficulty concentrating on anything that is not food. An attention that keeps snagging on anything edible within sight. That is not weakness. That is your amygdala. The amygdala is the brain's threat detection engine. In well-fed modern humans, it runs quietly. But introduce even mild caloric deficit and its activity increases measurably. Fear responses heighten. Irritability spikes. Social patience collapses. Researchers studying short-term fasting have documented what ancient humans lived inside every single day. A brain that grows more vigilant, more reactive, more dangerous as food disappears. Your ancestors were not angry when they were hungry. They were optimized. That engine is still running. In you. Right now. The Thrifty Gene Hypothesis, first proposed by geneticist James Neal in 1962, suggests that populations who survived repeated famine carry gene variants that accelerate fat storage during abundance. Your body, when food is plentiful, does not relax. It stockpiles. It assumes, at a cellular level, that the famine is coming. Because for 300,000 years, it always was. This is why you cannot stop at one serving when the food is exceptional. This is why your body resists every diet with a stubbornness that feels almost personal. This is why the craving hits at exactly the wrong moment. That is not a character flaw. That is a survival system that has not received the update. the world changed. The software did not. Homo sapiens did not outlast the last glacial maximum because they were the strongest. Cave lions were stronger. Short-faced bears were larger. Homo heidelbergensis had occupied the landscape far longer. What Homo sapiens had was a brain that could run on almost nothing, make brutal calculations without flinching, store food against the future it could only imagine, and wire every hard lesson directly into the next generation's biology. They learned to outthink starvation. And then they passed that knowledge into your bones. The last mammoth died approximately 4,000 years ago on a small Arctic island, long after its kind had vanished everywhere else. The species that had anchored the human food chain for hundreds of thousands of years was gone. And Homo sapiens, metabolically flexible, amygdala sharp, famine anticipating, impossible to starve quietly, kept going. You are the descendant of every human who did not starve. Every person who cracked the marrow bone when nothing else remained. Every group that buried meat in frozen earth against a winter they could feel coming. Everybody that refused to surrender its reserves without a fight. The hunger that inconveniences you today is the same hunger that built you. In a world where the famine never comes, where the refrigerator is always full and the delivery arrives in 30 minutes, what does a brain optimized for starvation do with all that preparation? It waits. It is always waiting. It just has not figured out yet that the ice age is over.